Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Shayna Cersei and I'm so excited to paint with you today. So today we're doing another page in our watercolor journals. Let's go over supplies and materials really quick. If you're new here, this watercolor journal series has over 100 videos in this playlist of all different kinds of subject matter. And I hope that you take up watercolor journaling if you have found your way to this video. So I am using a 6x9 watercolor journal book. This is, the paper in here is 140-pound cold press, so it's got a little bit of a rough surface to it, and it's also 100% cotton. This particular brand is Baohong, and you can find lots of different brands. There's some links in the description to different brands and all the supplies and materials I'll go over. So really quickly, the two pens I'm using are a Micron pen and a Funisuke Tombow pen. Those are the brand names, but basically they are archival permanent ink, so they will not run when I apply watercolor to them. I'm also using 3 round brushes, a size 10, a size 4, and a size 8. 2 of them are Princeton Velvet Touch. 1 is a silver black velvet. Any round brushes you have in various sizes will work just fine for this project. And then I also am using my Core Paints QOR by Golden. These are my favorite particular brand, but there are lots of different brands to choose from that will work just fine. You'll see in my description either the 24 set listed or the Core mini set. Those are the 2 links and the 2 palettes I use most often. But whatever you have will work great, or even a smaller sample set of Core paints. You don't have to get all 24. That just happens to be what I have. All right, with paper towel and waters, and we are going to get started. So we are going to do fall foliage today. So you've probably seen the thumbnail image of the finished piece in here, but basically I'm going to create a nice little tree line with some fun different trees. I'm starting with my Tombow Funisuke. This is a hard tip brush pen, so it makes fine lines, but also a slightly thicker line if I add more pressure. And I am working on being more illustrative and really simplifying objects into more simple shapes. So trees are made up of lots and lots and lots of tiny little components or pieces, leaves, but I don't want to paint all of them. I'm going to use the watercolor and the colors and the transparency of watercolor to hopefully create depth and light and color and texture. And then I'm going to use the pen to kind of create the structure around it. But I'm not going to get into individual little leaves. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to start this way and work my way this way. And what I tend to do when I draw or paint trees is I make them very wide and that quintessential, like, big oak tree shaped tree. And if I look in my backyard, I actually have very tall, very thin trees. So I'm going to try to focus on that, making these taller, thinner trees that have a lot of room under their canopy. So I'm going to start by imagining just the outline shape. And you can go out and look at some trees as well, of like the section of leaves, and you can see I'm being very bumpy and working my way around kind of all of the edges of a leaf. I'm not going to draw individual leaves inside, but the contour, if I looked at the whole shape of that top of the branches and where all the leaves cluster together, if I just look at the outline of it, that's what I'm trying to replicate here. So I'm going to draw this section here, then some overlapping clusters of trees. So this is like an overlapping cluster. I'm going to do another one here. And then I'm actually going to do one here. But I'm going to leave a space here. And let's do one over here that doesn't actually connect. And maybe something down here. All right, so that looks a little funky, right? So now I'm going to draw in my trunk, and I'm going to keep it tall and thin. And what I always struggle with is drawing it. Like, I would want to actually keep that open if I was doing it in pencil, but I always forget to make my my branches before I've like already closed it off. So that's just something I have to work on. So I'm going to go up through here. And then these are going to be in front, and I'm just going to have kind of two branches up this way. I'm going to have one come out from here. We'll put another clump of tree there. And you can add on more too if you want to. Mess with your shape. All right, that looks interesting. That looks fun. And then you can always add on little branches sticking out. All right, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try to do similar but different. So let's see if I can make this one like lots. We'll do a big cluster. In the middle. And then I'm going to draw another. And then another one this way. You can tell when I start to concentrate because I get really quiet. So then you see here, I've left this. I'm just gonna add some more around it. I've left no way to connect this to an actual tree branch. This should have had, actually we'll go out this way. And then this way. And then since it is kind of fall time, you can have bare branches too. And all right, let's keep going. We could do another one in here. I'm gonna actually draw the trunk first. Draw a little cluster behind. And this I could definitely recommend just going out and looking at trees. To get inspiration, to see what shapes they are. Are they big and wide? Do they have big clusters and bunches? Do they have lots of bare space between branches? Like this one has a lot of bare space, but these have a lot of overlapping sections. All right, I'm gonna do one more over here. And then we're gonna And you can add clusters within clusters, I think would be fine. All right, so I'm gonna leave it like that, and then we are going to add some watercolor. All right, so I'm gonna take my large size 10 brush, and I'm gonna take some of my lighter fall foliage colors first. So I have some yellow, and I'm gonna take some transparent orange. This is a transparent Pyrrol orange, but I'm gonna dilute them. I'm going to. And I'm just gonna go around and put a nice wash on all of these. I'm not gonna worry about staying perfectly in the lines. And we are going to mix in some greens as well as oranges, and maybe even some magentas and some purples and browns. So drop in a little bit of orange. And you know, I am going to even take a little sap green. Actually, I have a green gold here. That's a very yellowy green that I'm going to drop in at this stage. All right, so we have a nice base layer wash with lots of different colors for highlights. And now we're actually going to start going darker. And we're going to let things stay wet, and this is going to be a little bit of a wet on wet experience. So here is some dark transparent Pyrrol orange. I also have some Quinacridone gold, which is a beautiful fall color. And we can even throw in some magenta to some of these to really give it a pop. And more yellow. And then I am going to throw some sap green into a few places. So I'm going to, let's throw in some sap green. And I'm going to keep my darkest colors, or my most saturated versions of the colors, down low. Now let's pick up some of this orange. And some yellow. I'm gonna make this tree over here like really yellowy. Like I think the beech trees get really yellow. Let's pick up some of this magenta and All right, let's let this dry a little bit. I'm going to pick up a little phthalo blue with my green and throw it down below here. All right, let's let that dry. And I am going to come back and work on some of my trunks. All right, so while that's drying, I am going to make a brown. So I can do that very easily with a little magenta, which I already pulled out, and some of this sap green. There was already some orange over here, but you can see how we're already getting brown. It's a very red brown right now, but that's okay. Just add a little more green to it. You will quickly get to brown. So with this, I'm just going to come in here and fill in some of my branches, leaving some white spots. Sorry, not my branches, my trunks. And I'm going to go right up into the tree itself. And definitely these areas in between. I'm going to add a little Payne's gray as we get up into the canopy here, because you do start to see less detail, less color. All right, so now I'm going to go in and I'm going to focus. This is still, a lot of this is still drying. Oops, wrong color. I'm going to come in with some Quin Gold in some areas. I'm going to focus on the individual little clusters. And making those particular areas. So if it was a dark green, or if it was green, I'm going to go darker green on the bottom and separate the clusters from each other just a little bit. And giving them some texture within the cluster itself. Let's switch to my smaller brush again. See, I am going to drop a little magenta in here. And just give that look of things are gradually changing. You know, not the whole tree isn't changing all at once. This one has some green in it, some yellow in it, some orange. This one I'm going to put yellow. And this one over here, I'm gonna boost up the yellow a little bit up here. And then darken the green underneath. So this cluster is being pushed back, it's further away. This one is a little further up front. I even put a little more blue on this one down below. Right here, let's give that a little more depth. Let's push this away from the front clusters. So make that sink back. All right, and there we go. We have this nice little lovely ink and wash set of trees. What I do want to do, I could leave it like this, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it some kind of like foliage background, like it's set in the woods. So all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do some water. This is dirty water or dirty brush, but I'm just gonna throw some water in here, kind of along the tree line. We'll see how this looks. I don't know. I might have to go back in with my ink. Now, I could do a very dark blue green, as if it's like a dark little forest, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do yellow to have like these bushes that are like on fire. Just all ablaze. This bright, beautiful yellow color. And various, I'm going to pull in a little bit of orange, but various shades and values of yellow, so leaving some spots really light. The orange I'm kind of keeping close to the bottom just to give it a little depth. I'm going to take some water, I'm going to go up even a little higher. Kind of love this. And then just going darker with more pigment on the bottom here. And that way it kind of, it's a soft feathery fade into the background. Now I could go back over this after it dries with ink to draw in just a few little details, or you could go crazy and draw all kinds of little contoury details like we did up here. And we can go back into our trees. So let's pause here, let everything dry, and see where we might want to add some additional details. All right, we're back. Everything is dry. I have a nice little clip on here holding things down. This looks fun and lovely. And just remember, you don't have to do everything the exact way I did it. We did lots of different elements and things in here that you can experiment with. I'm going to go in with my size 5 micro pen, and I'm just going to draw in kind of a suggestion of some smaller parts or textures within the larger clusters, I think. Still not getting down into individual leaves, but maybe adding a few more branches, smaller branches. Maybe making some suggestions of smaller clusters within clusters. You can also do this by putting down paint first and just painting these big blobs and then kind of going back in and outlining them, or creating loose outlines. You can have some little twiggy branches sticking out. In different directions. And we could do this also in these little bushes. So let's see. I kind of like this. Nice and clean the way it is, but if we wanted to just create some now this brush you can see is a much finer line, and it's also, or I'm sorry, this pen, and it's also a pen that has been used quite a bit. So the tip of it is very somewhat abused. So you can see just going in with a line, making some suggestions of where there might be some overlap. And I'm even going to put in some tree trunks, I think, or some lines of tree trunks in the background. I'm not going to paint them in. I'm just going to leave them outlines. That could be fun too. There we go. There we have it. So a fun little illustration, fall foliage, line and wash, lots of play and experimentation. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Check out the descriptions to links to supplies and materials that I use in this video, as well as in my everyday watercolor painting journey. Leave a comment and share with a friend. I'd love for you to let me know what you think in the comments, and also share this with others who you think might like it as well. All right, y'all, take care. Happy painting. I'm Sienna, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.